All right, hello everyone. This is Nicole Whitlock with the Side Hustle Summit, and today's key feature speaker is Miss Lyria Moore. Now, Lyria is a good friend of mine. She and I met in this e-commerce space. We all joined a crazy company called DSD, and then we moved on to Infinii. We became part of an amazing group called Neos. So I'm going to stop there because today we're talking about virtual assistants. And I'm going to let Lyria talk to us about her and what it is to be a virtual assistant. So, Lyria, thank you so much. She did not want to do this, guys. I just want you to know that. I'm going to be honest.
I'm putting my
So,
headphones on.
but I am grateful for her. I'm thankful for her. So, in any case, Lyria, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, that's kind of a scary question because there's a lot.
You
There's
know
a
what? Tell what you want to tell, girl. This is your story. Okay.
Okay, so I guess it would be good to start from where the desire came from to be a virtual assistant. So, in my background, I started out, went to college and got my degree, but soon after that, I got married and started life and then family. And I decided not to do both work and family. So I stayed home. And my husband was a breadwinner, but I always wanted to, do my own thing and have my own thing on the side. So I started looking for things that I could do. I was doing like at one point I was trying to do mystery shopping and stuff like that, like doing surveys, just whatever I could do. So as Nicole said, I found DSD and then I found e-commerce, and out of that I was okay. So during that time, I'm also homeschooling because we have quite a bit of children. We have a big herd over here. So I'm trying to homeschool and do something at home, which, I need to have something that will fall into the spaces that I do have. They weren't very many, but I needed something that was going to be able to be versatile. So um, I started helping people with their websites and stuff. And I had to do it for myself, my own e-commerce business that I was forming. So I did pick up a few things and learned a few things, and I liked it. I liked that I was able to understand this new thing and to apply it. So I kept on doing it. And so I started using that to help other people. And that's where the VA thing came in. So instead of just doing it for myself and just doing it for my own business, I started doing it for others and I actually liked it. To me, the job wasn't as difficult as some other people were thinking the job was. And that was the key for me about being a VA, was that I didn't mind doing the different tasks that needed to be done. Other people really do mind sometimes. So it's like, okay, this is a perfect fit. I can provide you a service and I can actually get paid for it, and it's not too much of a stress or a strain for me, since I know how to do it now and I don't see it in the same way. So that's like a main basic foundation of how I started and why I started with doing VA work, because that's really all it is. I guess I have a helpful nature too, because some people don't want to be bothered with other people's stuff. They're like, just learn how to do it yourself, or they have no patience or whatever. I don't know. But for me, it doesn't matter. So I had, I guess, the personality type to go with being a VA. I had some of the skills, enough to find different jobs that I could do. Um, at one time, I was also editing books, or editing manuscripts, and curriculum actually, because I homeschool our children. So through that, I was helping some moms who created their own curriculum, and I was editing that. So that went along well with website building, because you need to, be able to proofread stuff before you put it up there and lead people astray, um, and also use good grammar. So there was that, and then it kind of morphed. Yeah, we met and we just kept on going with things in the e-commerce vein. And then you started doing your own thing, and I was like, hey, if I can come along, that'd be fun. Working with a friend, having an already existing relationship, that was really good. And then I could still use my skills and then grow on it, and expand on it. So that's how I started with my VA journey.
Oh, that's awesome. So how many people's websites did you like? How many different people's websites did you work on?
Let's see. In the other business, it was at least 10. And that was over a period of like 2 years. And I had some repeat people. So the new ones, I was always, excited because, oh, it's going to be something new, because the other people, I kind of knew what I was going to do already with them because I started doing something the first time. And they just really needed it like updated or something like that. But the new stuff, yeah, it was quite interesting. It stressed me sometimes because I had to do stuff that I don't think I'm really good at, or I had to, really kind of buckle down and really learn, go over it as many times as I needed to learn how to do it so that I could help them. So yeah, I guess it was not too many, but it was perfect for me because, as I said, I'm homeschooling at the same time, so
Mhm.
I can't really handle too much at one time. So yeah, it fit within those spaces of time that I did have.
Okay. And which types of websites, like, what's your specialty or what did you start with? I'll say that.
Yeah, and I don't really have a specialty because they were all basically e-commerce sites. Like everybody was just using their website to get, you know, I guess to give, they were giving information and then they're also, wanting to receive compensation for it. So, it's like that. Different people did it in different ways. Some focused more on producing a product or their product, and now they have a site, and they were doing that. Or some people were just giving information about, like, there were a lot of travel sites that I was ended up working on where the person lived in a certain place. Everybody's trying to go visit there and they've grown up there all their life. So sometimes it's hard to find information on, about this one place that you're going to end up going on a vacation or something, and they can give you a really good tour or, recommend this or recommend that. So I started working with sites like that. And then mine was an information site based on women's health and just like being kind of natural in how you do things. So like homeschooling to me is a more natural thing because you're at home, you're already teaching the kids, you're living life with them, you just kind of do it. There were other things like, taking care of babies and how to take care of babies in a more natural approach. So that was what my site was based on. So I was doing things around that, doing podcasts, talking with other interviewing people, kind of like this, and things like that. So I would help do that for other sites and I would help put up their interviews or their, whatever they needed. Um, but yeah, those are kind of the things I was working with. So the e-commerce thing was a little bit of a stretch for me to just focus on that because I had a broad array of things that I was focusing on. But it was good. I liked it because it was something that was new and emerging and it wasn't going away, Not that I can tell. E-commerce ain't going away nowhere. As more people get involved in it every day. So it felt good to be able to be a part of something that was growing, still growing.
So, what was your website built on? What tool? What platform? What?
Okay, so the company that I was a part of, we used our own, well, they had their own
Oh,
building tool. Yeah, that was the whole thing about the company. And then we also, were like, hey, you can get one too. And so we would show people that they can get their own website. But
okay.
the success of ours kind of proved to them that they could do, kind of like that. Like it
Mhm.
was, so we did want to do it for ourselves, but then we were also helping the company as well. Like we're like living testimonies, living testaments.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, it was. Yeah, and I think they've changed maybe their names a few times or something. I haven't really kept up with them, but so yeah, they had their own builder. We weren't using like Weebly or anything like that. It was something totally new, proprietary
Sounds
that they
so I
had
was
made.
gonna say, it sounds like I used to be part of a company a long time ago called Empower
Hmm.
Network, and I remember
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
they used to have the whole website thing too. But
Yeah.
the foundation, it was WordPress. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was
Yeah, no,
WordPress.
this one wasn't even WordPress. It was like their own thing. Like it was interesting.
Okay. So then after you kind of helped other people, then you kind of transitioned over to meet a gangly group of people,
Oh, stop.
a gangly group of people in Orlando,
I
and we
remember
got
that.
connected. So let's
I
talk
remember that.
about from Orlando to, I guess, 2019. Let's talk about
Mhm.
What happened there?
So yeah, I started at that was more, e-commerce focused in Orlando. And that's when I was still, I think, I do believe I was still trying to do my own e-commerce business. And then I had to make a decision, because for me in my house, I was trying to fit it in between the times that I did have. And to me, it got a lot. Like, I could have made the decision to keep growing it, but then I knew that other stuff would suffer for it. So my kids were younger back then, and I really couldn't, within myself, make that decision consciously in a good, in a good light. I couldn't put it in a good light. Like, I couldn't spin it any other way. So I was like, no, I got to be there for the kids. So I had to give that up in order to be there for them. So, but I still wanted to do something. So I still wanted to fit in. I still wanted to try to make my own thing. So yeah, then you started with your thing, and I was like, that sounds great, because I seriously thought it was dead. Like, I was not doing anything at the moment. I didn't think,
Yeah.
I wasn't really doing anything like that. So yeah, I was really happy.
Well, so here's the irony. After sort of DSD, and then we went to Infinii, and then we were part of No Excuses. And Lyria was so helpful in No Excuses. Like, she and I would do all kinds of amazing things for Nikki Witherspoon, who was
Mhm.
our amazing mentor, and we love her so much.
Yes.
And so, we first started off with base camp, and she wanted to get that set up. And so
Yeah.
Larry is out there doing stuff. And then we were trying to get our cloned website up for our live events. We used to host a boatload of live events,
Mhm.
and Larry was helping with the website updates, and she was doing
Yeah.
all of the YouTube updates, and she was just doing all this stuff. And I would jump in the middle of some of that stuff, and I would help with it, and I would help with the structure because I'm a former
Mhm.
project manager. And so it was the two of us, like, really kind of, I felt like between me, her, and Nikki, just doing a significant amount in No Excuses.
Mhm.
And Lyria was like sort of the quiet person in the background that a lot of people didn't know was doing stuff. And Nikki was the face, and I was there to support Nikki in any kind of way. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic. But in the middle of that, Lyria is talking about all the skills that she was gaining. Like, she learned stuff about YouTube. She would go do research on us because at that point, some YouTube channels were getting shut down. We had to have a clone secret YouTube channel, and we
Mhm.
so our stuff wouldn't get taken down. She was learning how to use Basecamp. She was learning how to use Wistia. She was learning, like, she would literally jump in and learn how to do this stuff. Little did she know that any of the skills that she was gaining, she would be able to use them later on. But I say all that to say this, like, all the little things that you do, meaning if you are watching this and you want to be a virtual assistant, all of those little things that you do, whether it's you creating your own website, whether it's you creating your own email list, whether it's you're creating your own capture page, whatever it happens to be, all of those are skills that somebody somewhere is looking for.
Yeah.
They may not know that they're looking for you yet, but they know they're looking for it because at some point their life gets way too hectic, or their business gets too
Mhm.
big, or they're trying to scale their business and they can't do the business and scale at the same time. You can't be the same person to do that.
Mhm.
Somebody has to take over the administrative side of it so that you can focus on the scaling side of it. So yeah, Lyria gained a lot of skills, and I learned a lot of stuff from her. I'm like, okay, let's do a session. Now, how did you do this? And at the point, we were using Google Hangouts. That's what we
Mhm.
used.
Yeah. Mhm. I remember that.
Okay, so I guess move forward into, like, from 2019 to now, like where we are now, and what some of the things that you've done as part of this journey.
Mhm. Well, let's see. We've done our own website, right? And we've done newsletter things. We've done a lot of video. The videos have been getting more focus, more attention. We've been doing more of them. The quality has been getting better. And then using a lot of tools. We've been introducing a lot of new tools that have come out on the market, for, hey, this will make this easier. And then I think they've been growing as we're growing too. Like, I never realized that there were that many tools for these things before, but now that, like, e-commerce is growing so much, they realize that we do need this, we do need that, we need this thing too, and that thing. So like, keyword research has gone crazy. That was there before. It's just that there's so many, different ways to do it, and there's so many different, like, I don't think that there's just one right way. Um, and there are different tools that focus on different ways to do it. And then also the graphic, like the everything that goes into it. Like you have to make your video pop when you're on, YouTube, and it has to be a certain way. So yeah, there's all of that. Even okay, so I don't know if we're gonna get into the AI
Go ahead.
situation or
Go
the
ahead.
AI
Go
talk,
ahead.
but
Go
even that
ahead.
is something that's, just I know it's kind of maybe recently starting now, and businesses are starting to realize how they can, utilize it. But like things like that, like because of this thing that's here, like e-commerce, other things have sprung up around it. So yeah, gotten I've gotten a lot of experience. One of the things that I'm most proud of, though, is my video editing skill. I really like doing video editing. Now, I have married a man who does video editing on a whole nother level than what I do it on. So I do understand that, like, equalization of sound in the background and all that stuff is good, but I don't really focus too much on that when I'm doing videos, certainly for like maybe conferences or something like that, since it's usually just a one-on-one like this, you don't really need all that, sound correct and lined up and everything. But it can go crazy, I've learned. I just like the part that I have been involved with, which is just basic stuff. Like if you want to, I've, done like picture in picture where you put the little thing in while you're, talking, or you just edit, you cut off this, cut off that. You don't like how that sounded, or even take out the audio completely and do a music over it, stuff like that. I've liked and I've learned how to do those things, like learning how to do those things. And I really feel like my skill has grown,
Oh, that's
because of just the nature of business. Like you have to grow your business, and that means that you need to do more of the same type of thing that got you to, that level of growth. So yeah, with the more, greater number of videos, then the greater number of times chances I have to hone that skill and get it down to not really a science, but like get it down to where it's not so much of a behemoth task anymore.
I am just always astonished at your skills and the stuff that you've learned over the years, and just hanging out with you and just going, okay, I need this. So in any case, so that's how she sort of got started. And so, you talked about why you choose VA work because it kind of, I call it fitting in the pockets. Said fitting
Yeah,
in the spaces.
yeah.
It's stuff that you can do when you have this little pocket of time, 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there, an hour
Mhm,
here, because both of us have kids. You have more than I do, but I have
mhm.
one that's four, meaning he's four kids in one. So I mean,
Yeah,
he's four
mhm,
kids in one.
yeah.
Um, and so we just, whenever we do stuff, we gotta like fit it into spaces where
Mhm,
we can actually get the work done. So I get that. And this work that we do or that you do is, I am grateful for it.
mhm.
So can you tell them, in addition to some of the stuff that you like, talk about, we did certain things in 2019 and then 2020 and 2021 and 2022, some of the VA type of work that you've done over the years, and roughly how many would you say estimated hours when you add up all the pockets? Like, I know it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
collapse the pockets. I have an idea, but I know she knows I do. But
Yeah, you have that more than I do because I don't really, it's hard for me to keep track. I have sort of somewhat of a schedule. Because the house is, we have different children and they do different things, and the house is like constantly moving, and it's
yeah,
very, very vibrant and active. So I don't really have much of a strict schedule because I tried that, and for me and the family, it just did not work. I would always be pulling my hair out that something didn't get done or da da da, da, So I didn't want to have to always be upset. So I'm like, okay, let's just go with a more easier flowing day where things just flow from one thing to the next. So basically, around this time, this is what we usually do. Basically, around this time, this is what we usually do. So that kind of started working in that way. But yeah, I don't know, like, I know it's probably hundreds
It's a
of,
lot.
yeah,
She's
like hundreds of, I don't know, I don't I don't
so
know
she
exactly the
she
number.
so she set up our, let me just give you some VA
Mhm.
tasks. So she created our a lot of our fan pages. She created a lot of
I
our
love it.
groups. She created the banners for all of the groups. You know, when we first
Mhm,
started our journey, she would do the administration of approving people into the Facebook groups.
mhm,
So again, these are all VA tasks.
yeah,
So she would do all of our social media posting and scheduling. She would create the graphics for the social media posting, and we would coordinate and talk about it. She helped me initially develop the social media posting schedule so that way she'd had something to follow.
mhm,
She creates the banner pages for, or the banner graphics for our upcoming workshops. She like, so there's a lot of administrative tasks. Like, I don't have time to do these things.
yeah,
She would go and download the videos, edit them, slap intros and outros on them. Like, I would give her, we would submit orders for intros and outros, and she would pick the ones that she wanted to use, and then she stored all the other ones, and then she would slap intros and outros on our videos. She would edit them. She would upload them to the membership site. She would create new membership slots. She would, so that the
yeah.
videos would go in the membership slots. She also would upload
There's
the.
a lot. Yeah, I
I know.
forgot about
I'm
that.
not saying you do a lot. Like, she's, but this. So what I do want to say is she didn't do all of this from 2019 to now. Like, she had to learn it first. And so
Mhm,
one of the things that I had to learn was, in order for her to be successful, I have to make sure that she's got at least an outline of what the work is, how to
mhm,
do it, the way it needs to be done. So every single thing that I'm mentioning, we had to build what we call an SOP, a standard operating procedure, and a process, so that she would have a guideline. That way she could do her job independently and I wouldn't have to micromanage her. I am the world's worst micromanager. If I gotta micromanage you, something's wrong, because I'm like, look, I am going to train you and train you again. I'm gonna train you one more
mhm.
time, and then if I have to micromanage you, I can't deal with you anymore. So,
Yeah,
but
you don't
Lyria
have the
knows
time for
that about me.
it.
Huh?
I was saying you don't have the time for it.
I don't have the time for it. So I train people. They go through. We build SOPs. We create documents, and then we create a Loom video to go with the training. So you have both of them, and I have you go through that training twice, and then you have a private session with me, and we kind of go through it and make sure. And then I monitor you for about 2 weeks, and then I let people go. I don't have time.
Right.
I meaning I let them do their job independently. I figure if you're going to go through the training and you go through it twice, and then we do a session where we talk about it, and then we do a one-on-one session and another one-on-one for 2 weeks. We do like 4 one-on-ones. At that point, you should have the job, and
Mhm,
you should have really good notes about anything that was extra that I overlooked. And we do tweak our SOPs all the time, our standard operating procedures all the time. But um, so Lyria helped create a lot of the SOPs.
mhm.
Lyria's job has evolved in working for eCom sellers. So she started off doing a video. Well, she didn't start off doing video editing. It just kind of fell in
Mm,
her lap
yeah.
because we had to do our first summit. So that was in 2019. And so video editing fell into her lap.
Mhm,
She did
mhm.
all of our social media posting, approving people, creating the banners, creating the graphics, ordering the graphics, making graphics. She did all of that. And
And then the
huh?
surveys, the writing out,
Oh yeah,
all
she
of
helped
it.
the Google form survey after the
Yeah,
summits
yeah,
are over. Yeah, she
yeah.
did a bunch of stuff. Okay, collecting all of the speaker information, because the summit
Yes, those things.
requires a lot of work. It requires coordinating with different speakers. It requires getting their graphics, getting their bios, getting their affiliate links, getting their programs, getting their session video, getting their videos sent out to them, or their
Working with lots of spreadsheets too,
working
so.
with lots of spreadsheets. So she's spent a
Mhm.
lot of time in spreadsheet world, but her job has
Mhm.
kind of evolved. And so now some of the stuff that she used to do, she trained other people to do it. So now Dina does all of our social media posting, all of our graphics and all of that. And Larry has just moved on to focus on video work, which I am eternally grateful for. And on average, when she first started, I want to say Larry was probably working anywhere from 15 to 20 hours a week. And
Yeah.
now Larry probably works anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a week. But everything that she needs to do and everything she's got to post, it's all compartmentalized. So it makes it easier for her to be able to do her job. So what else do you want to add to that? Because I could go on and on just talking about just that part of the work. But go ahead.
Well, I think one thing I've had to learn also is how to communicate with you, because you, as the, and I don't know if this is everybody else, but you're very good with seeing a big broad picture and having the vision and getting everybody to understand the vision. And then me as a VA, I can't just go on vision. I have to actually be like, okay, and exactly how are we going to put this piece of information into that space? You know, like I need the one, I'm the one that like deals with more of the details. So I've had to learn how to ask questions that get me to the details because I know you're just like, but this is the big, you know, and I'm like, okay, but what does it have to do with getting A to B, you know, like, so, because that's what I have to do, you know, to get the big vision going. Like as a VA, we have to do the little minute, you know, tasks. And so we have to be able to ask those questions of our, I guess, project managers is what I could give, or the CEOs, you know, of the business, whoever you're working for. You have to be able to break it down into those little bite-sized pieces so that you can be successful as a VA. And that, you know, like Nicole was saying, you know, with SOPs, that's really good. If you're going for a position, going for a job, and your boss doesn't have one, it just makes it harder for you to do the job. And then there might be a lot of unnecessary stress between you two because they have an idea and an expectation in their head, and
Mhm.
you have no clue how to get there because they didn't tell you how to get there. So it might not be very easy to ask those questions to get that whole process, you know. So them having the whole process already laid out is going to be very, very good. So I would say look for an employer like Nicole. Who is already thought of that, you know, and they're already trying to help you, because that's really what it is. It's a partnership, and so y'all need to be able to work together and have that synergy, have that ease of communication. So yeah, it would be good to try to look for these things when you're going for a job, going for a position. Also, just make sure that you don't bite off too, you know, more than you can chew. Your work output should be top quality, so that you don't. Okay, so Nicole and I have this thing where we're like, okay, who's the like log? Who's the log jam? You know, you don't want to be the one that's in the way of something happening. And in order to do that, you have to make sure that you're able to show up when you need to show up, and try to stick to that as much as possible. So now for me and my household, you know, it's crazy. So a lot of times, deadlines do sometimes go, and I haven't done it yet, or you know, this goes and I just can't get to it because I'm just not at the computer because I'm running around with this and that. So, but at least keep lines of communication open and let your employer know. Don't just disappear or something like that. You know, that's not really good. That's not going to help anybody. Keep your level of responsibility, your level of integrity up, so that if you knew you were supposed to do something and you didn't do it, just take responsibility and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I messed up. Don't be afraid to take that responsibility. If your, you know, employer does kind of give you the axe, I mean, at least you have learned a good lesson in how better maybe you could have handled it, how better you could have, I guess, organized your time, you know, managed your time. um, but then, yeah, so just keep that in mind when you're going out for another job. Don't just say you can do it just because you need, you know, the money or something. You know, like just really, really go back and think through your day and say, okay, do I really have this? You know, do I really have this time that I can afford to this? Do I really have the ability to sometimes spend hours in research? Because that's another part of doing a VA job that a lot of maybe you haven't heard of before, but a lot of times you have to do research and figure things out on the spot. Something may not work as it was supposed to, or something may not work as advertised. So you have to figure out how to make it work, and that takes time. Or you have to, you know, learn this other thing that goes along with making this thing work, and nobody realized that until you actually get in there and do it. So there's going to be things that pop up and you're going to need extra time. So just make sure that you give yourself a good buffer, I guess, as to what you can do, how long it's going to take, you know, how much energy you need to put into it. That was just one thing I wanted to wanted to say.
Those, those were all good golden nuggets. I was blessed to be able to reach out to Lyria. I literally reached out to her like 2 weeks before our summit went live because I was losing my mind and I couldn't pull it together. And I was like, who knows how to do what I need them to do? And I have worked with. And so Lyria was the person I reached out to. So for some of you, you know somebody who's running a business. And so, as Lyria was saying, the lines of communication are extremely important. And for me, it was all about when Lyria came on board, and I was glad that she said yes. And it was, I mean, I don't even think we had figured out the salary yet. I was just like, I will pay you. I don't know how much I will pay you, but
Yeah, so
I just
that
want
might
you
be
to do
another thing. Like, there could be if you have that good of a relationship, then that's great. But like,
most of
usually
the
you
time
don't
people will
have that.
not
I
just
know you
start
don't
and
have
not
that.
know how
So
much.
yeah, you'd want to have that down pat before you start.
I called her in panic mode, and she actually stepped up, and I'm grateful for that. But what I do want to say is that on this journey, if you know someone that is running their own business and you have some skills, you have knowledge, you have ability, you see that person is always stressed or they're anxious or they're whatever. Grace and mercy. Lyria gives me a lot of grace and mercy. I give her a lot of grace and mercy. But the other thing is that I have made a commitment that I don't care what's going on in my business. Our friendship comes first. This business comes second. Actually, our families come first. Friendship comes second, and the business comes third. So I don't care if something happens, like, oh, you forgot to upload this, and so we lost this sale or whatever the case may be. I do not allow both of us. I think we have that level of respect and understanding that we don't allow this business to deteriorate our friendship, and we don't allow it to negatively impact our families. If I got to go to the emergency room and I'm supposed to meet with Lyria, Lyria understands. And I do give her that heads up. So that line of communication, being able to say, hey, I'm at the hospital. I can't meet. All right, that's it. I don't have to say anything else. She knows that when things have calmed down enough, that I will get in contact with her and vice versa. She's like, I got an emergency. I can't meet. All right, I'm not going to get this up. All right, fine. I'll go deal with it. So we do have a level of flexibility. I think in traditional businesses, that wouldn't fly at all in a regular job because there's hard everything, hard deadlines. And we have hard deadlines too. We're not saying that they're soft and they're ambiguous. What I am saying is that, I understand that she's got a basketball team and I have two that make up six. And and we understand that there's a lot of things that are happening in our lives. So if you happen to have that friend and you want to be a blessing to them, you have to make sure that if they really are a really good friend and you've had a strong relationship with them, that at the beginning of this journey that the two of you have this understanding that if at any point that I get so angry, frustrated, or disappointed, because look, we will let each other down. It's part of relationships. It is part of relationships. We will let each other down or disappoint each other every once in a while. It's not an everyday thing. It's not even an every week or every month or every quarter thing. But there will come a time where something was really, really, really important to the other person, or something was really, really, really major for the other person, and things didn't go the way we wanted it to. And so we have to step back, breathe, and then let's talk about it. And so that's one of the things that Larry and I do. I feel like we do well is that we come back and we do what I call a post-mortem, and we talk about, okay, how could we have done this differently? How could this have gone better? Blah, blah, blah. Some things are out of our control, like technology, but there are things that are 100% in our control, and how we react to it when you think about it as a friend, as a sister in Christ, as a, you know, someone that you really care about. Like we connect outside of this business. Okay. So it is more than just this business. So make sure that if it is your family member, if it is your friend and you want to do work with them, most of the time people will say, no, don't do that. Most of the time they would say, don't do it because it could destroy the relationship. But just make sure that you have those boundaries set and that you have had that conversation and that you decide that this is a sacred relationship and a sacred space. And that when it is time, okay, when I say, Larry, I got to put on my boss hat for just a second, talk to you about this. Okay, and I'm gonna take it off. We're gonna talk about stuff as a friend. Then she understands I'm making that transition, and you have to be able to separate the two. It's not always easy to do it. It's a fine line, but you do have to be able to um, be able to keep that friendship sacred no matter what. And sometimes you have to take a break. And she's had some major stuff happen in her life. I've had a few major things happen in my life. So we had to step back and it's like, okay, I'm ready to work again. All right, thanks. Let's get started. And it's just par for the course. It is part of life's journey. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the business. Absolutely nothing to do with the business. It's just life. All the stuff around us, not the business. So so anyway, so how do you get started? How do you recommend somebody get started? So I'm going to say this, and I'll let Lyria add her 2 cents, that or 15 cents. Um, like I said, reach if you know someone that has a business. Maybe you can start doing something small. Like I said, she works 8 to 12 hours now. She's not working 15, 20, whatever hours. And so that makes it a lot easier for her to be able to fit in her 8 hours however she needs to do it. That may mean 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. That may mean like, four different 15-minute sessions or eight different 15-minute sessions throughout the day. However it works for her, she works it out. And so I would reach out to them and say, look, I can check your voicemail for you. I want to help reduce some of your stress. I could, wherever you have this hole, you know, I want to help fill it. Let me just be a blessing to you. And sometimes you just have to start off as just being a person to just try to help them on the side. And then after you kind of be the person to kind of help them on the side for a little bit and they see, okay, you have the capacity and the ability to do more, then you guys negotiate and talk about that. So, Lyria, did we ever have a conversation about negotiating and talking about more?
Oh, we've had many. Yes.
There you go. And that is, again, one of the things as part of this journey. You have to separate the friend hat from the
Yeah.
business owner hat so that you can have that conversation and not be offended by it. Okay. And not be like, oh, what? That's a crazy number. I cannot pay you $1 million. I did not win the lottery. We made $5 last month. I'm giving you my
Right.
entire
Yes.
$5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I am grateful for that. But to get started, if you don't have a friend, you don't have someone that you can do a little bit of side work for them, I would suggest putting yourself out on some of the websites. If you're really good at spreadsheets, list yourself as really good at spreadsheets. If you're really good at figuring out new software, write it down. If you're a person that knows how to do AI, let's say you're doing some AI work right now and you're really good at a specific AI tool. Let's say it's Right Cream or Right Sonic or Jasper or whatever. Put yourself on some of these sites like Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, um, freelancing. I'm trying to remember all the sites. There's a lot of different sites. Put yourself out there. Also, put yourself in some of the virtual assistant um, pages or some of the Facebook groups, so that way you can try to get some work. That's what I would encourage you to do. What would you recommend, Lyria?
That's a good start. I came in already doing something else. So maybe if you are doing something else that's not, related to online work at all, um, you could ask around and just see who is into online work, who is doing it in your sphere of influence, in your, normal day to day, business that you conduct. Um, or even just go like really, really old school and go make up some flyers and hand them out to different businesses.
Oh yeah,
That was one of the things that we realized when we were first starting, or when e-commerce was kind of like just getting ground and getting a good footing, was that a lot of the brick and mortar businesses, a lot of the store businesses didn't really have a presence online. That may not be as much of a case now since everybody's kind of everybody's got their own site, but how to manage that site well, or even the day-to-day runnings of the site, especially like mailing lists are still huge for businesses, and newsletters, and notifying their clientele and making sure that everybody's on the same page. All of that is still a big deal for businesses and is still needed. So even the businesses that you live around, you could just make up flyers if you want. That's more of an old school hounding the pavement type thing, but you could start doing that. You could just do it online, search online for who's near you. Um, See if there's maybe any community boards. I know for my area, we have like a community. I forgot what the name of it is, but there's a community website, and people put up different things that they're selling or different things that they do. So for those businesses, also those little mom and pop businesses, you could also suggest or offer your services and just let them know what you do and let them know that you're there to help in any way that they need. You may have to kind of beat them off because a lot of people really need help, especially when they're starting out, their mom and pops, they're like, yes, I hate doing this thing, I hate doing that part, or it takes me forever to do this. And you could just come in, swoop in and do it, really quickly for them. So yeah, that's something that is very, very key, and it might, help. It might help you to get that first gig, land that first job, land that first communication with an employer, and then you'll hopefully get more experience, hopefully get more confidence, and be able to know exactly who you're looking for and maybe hone down, instead of just laying a broad net, you could just, hone in on a certain type of business or employer. But yeah, that's all I had to add.
Well, and when you talked about getting that confidence, I thought of, every once in a while you could do volunteer work for your local church just so you can
Mhm.
continue to work on developing your skills and then use them as a reference. Because when you're doing volunteer work for the church, it is free, but it is still experience. So you could put that on your, experience list and use that to help you. In addition to that, don't overlook putting yourself on Thumbtack or TaxRabbit or some of these other apps, as well as the sites that we mentioned, because again, putting yourself out there is doing email marketing. If that's your specialty, if that's the one thing you know how to do, working on spreadsheets, if that's the one thing you know how to do, using a specific AI tool, if that's the one thing you know how to do, somebody somewhere is looking for you. And I would encourage you to maybe create your own Facebook fan page, your own Instagram page, maybe your own Twitter or Threads or whatever. Create your own page, a LinkedIn page, so that way, you can list your skills. And as you continue to grow your skills, put those skills, add them to your sheet, to your resume of things that you can do. Uh, you can use free tools to help you to gather customer feedback. You can put yourself up on Google Business and Yelp so that you can get the ratings, and then that will also help increase your presence if you want to make this a full blown thing. So if you just want to specialize in email marketing, that's your thing, that's what you've spent a lot of time doing, then do that. If you want to work on websites, if you've done Weebly or Wix or WordPress or whatever, then you can put yourself out there and list those. So how do you negotiate salaries and hours? How do you negotiate salaries and hours?
We smile and I don't know. Like, yeah, you're supposed to, like, you can, do your research and just, figure out what the, I guess, industry standard is, and then maybe go from there. Taking into account, maybe you have a more strenuous, it's going to be a lot more for you to do it than maybe somebody else. And so you may want to start charging more or expecting more or having, your value worth higher than what normally it would be. Um, I would say you would want to be competitive. But you don't have to like be, like scraping the bucket, like you don't, because you do still, this is gonna be something that's gonna help you get income for your livelihood. I don't know if you're gonna make it your main livelihood, but if you do, then you're gonna need to be able to compensate enough, that you're not out there doing other things. You're just focused on this. So I need to actually get paid so I can do this. I need to actually have some place to sleep, something to eat, some clothes to wear, so I'm not naked on an interview. So yeah, um, you have to take those into account. Just basic practical things. But then don't go crazy with it. Where it's like, I am the best and I deserve $1,000 of an hour, or something like that. Like just try to make sure that you have reasonable rates in mind. Um, and of course, as you go, if you do go and continue on and getting other employers, then you should be able to raise your rate as you go along because you've had that, like Nicole was saying before, you've had that experience and you can add that to your resume. So that makes you, just by, circumstance of that happening, makes you more valuable because you have this extra time of experience, and that should roll into how much you're getting paid. So think about those things. I know that's one thing I can, or some things I can throw out there for that.
Absolutely. And figure out a schedule. So if your end game is to sort of take on two, three, four clients, and you're a singular VA, you need, and you can, the other thing, you can register yourself with some of the VA sites because there are VA sites out there where you can put yourself out there as well. Um, then what I would encourage you to do is to work on your time management. Work on your time management. If you are saying for each client, you're going to commit to 10 hours worth of work for them each week, and you're going to take on four clients, that's, 40 hours a week. There you go. So if you get the kids out the door because school's going to be starting, or school's already in session, or maybe you're homeschooling, you need to figure out, okay, this client I'm going to work for 2 hours at this time, this client for 2 hours at this time, Monday through Friday, or if you're going to work Saturdays, whatever. Make sure you let your client know, I have a VA that works for me and she works majority of the time of the weekends. So she works like 8 hours on Saturday and 8 hours on Sunday, and she works like a couple of hours throughout the week. So like 1 hour. And so having that understanding, having your employer understand that, hey, if you need me to do stuff during the week, I may not be your girl, but I can do a whole bunch of stuff for you on the weekends because I'm a student or I have a full-time job or I have whatever. So make sure your employer knows when you plan on getting the majority of the work that can be done, and figure out if that's the kind of work that can be done on the weekends. If they want you to respond to emails and voicemails all throughout the week and you can only work 1 hour a day, that's not going to ever work out for either one of you. So don't even try to take that gig. But if they want you to create graphics and designs and they're going to give you the stuff in advance and give you a deadline and you can do it all on the weekends, that might be the gig for you. So figure out the schedule, and make sure that you do a good job of managing your time if you're going to take on multiple clients. Once you kind of get your footing with one client, then you can take on another. Don't try to take off four clients at the beginning or three clients at the beginning. I would just say do one, do it well for a couple of weeks, figure out your availability around that one job and when you're going to work it. If you're going to do a time block of every day from 9 to 11, I work on this client stuff Monday through Friday. Okay, now I have space to take on a second client that doesn't need more than 10 hours or doesn't need more than 20 hours. And then you can do the next time block and do that for 2 weeks and then manage the two of them together. Then, if you want to take on a third one, so just do a really good job of managing your time and your schedule so that you can do both of them. Because we all want to win. We all want to win. And then make sure that you negotiate and understand how you're going to be paid. Whether you're going to be paid at the end of each week, at the end of each task, if you're going to be paid monthly, make sure that you have an understanding and agreement with whoever you're working with. I have been so immensely blessed to be able to work with Lyria for 4 years, going on five.
Yay.
Actually, longer than 4 years, if I'm gonna be honest, because again, we started in 2015. So longer than 4 years, but she really started working with me in 2019, just one on one versus in a group setting before. And I am eternally grateful for that. And um, so, you want to just, communication is the key, I think, to our relationship. I think that's one of the biggest things. And flexibility, that's one of the things. And so, if you're looking for that, make sure you have that conversation with whoever you're doing work for or that you're going to become a full time VA for. So, do you have any other closing remarks? Anything
Um,
that you think would be helpful for those people that are either interested in becoming a VA or maybe hiring a VA themselves?
let me see. I would just say try to stay true to yourself as one of the main things. Don't try to be somebody that you're really not. Somebody's going to be counting on you. um, Sometimes for the lifeblood of their business, and they're going to need you to be at your best. So if you're not really good at this thing, don't just act like it, or don't just try to kind of, cover it over. You have to be honest to me and truthful in order to be a VA, because they're going to count on you to do that exact thing that they hired you to do. So just make sure that you're true to yourself, true with yourself, even with time. Be true to yourself, know exactly how much time you can give. Um, and things like that. Let that guide you. Let that be your foundation of where you start.
All right. And pray about it before you take any gig.
Yeah.
Sometimes people's spirits speak to you and you're like, woo, not gonna be able to do this. Anyway, pray about it first. All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Side Hustle Summit. I am so grateful for Lyria more than you guys will ever know. And we are gonna say goodbye for now. Thanks, guys.